A man walks into the classroom with a gun and starts killing people. The police stop him, but at the end, the best friend you sat next to is lying in a pool of their own blood dead. A lot of questions are going through your mind, including, why do these people do these things? According to the general public, a lot of people seem to believe that people are doing these things because they play all these violent video games and it trains them to kill people, or it just makes them into these mindless, violent, crazy people. But is this really why they do this thing? Are video games really where we should be putting the blame, or should we be blaming another reason? In the early 2000s, the U.S. Department of Education collaborated with the Secret Service to run case studies on a number of different school shooting incidents to find out what the reasons behind them were. And the results are fairly surprising. Video games did play a part in a small number of them, but the majority. Most of them had other causes. For exact numbers of the case studies they did, only 12% had any link to violent video games. By comparison, 24 and 27% were linked to violent books and movies, respectively. And when you think about it, this could make a little bit of sense. When you read a violent book or watch a violent movie, it's going to build up your aggression the same way video games would do, or people claim that they do. But unlike video games, you leave with a lot of this aggression still built up. You don't have any sort of outlet for it. Whereas if you play a violent video game, the nature of the video game itself enables you to have a release right there of a lot of that aggression. So while you may still have some aggression built up, it's going to be comparatively smaller for a violent video game than, say, a book or a movie. Also, Science Daily has found that the violent crime rate has, among all ages, has gone down since violent video games have really taken off, which doesn't really seem to support the theory that violent video games would cause real-world violence. Because, I mean, a lot of people are playing them, so you'd think violent crime would be just a day-to-day occurrence, a lot more of one than it is right now. And a number of sources, including the Sydney Morning Herald, have found that of those that play violent video games and do go on a killing rampage, most of those people are already predisposed to violent tendencies to begin with, whereas just normal people don't have any mental problems or anything like that at all. It's really not going to affect them, really. So all this evidence is pointing to the fact that, or to the possibility that video game violence does not necessarily translate to real-world violence. But there's still the issue that school shootings happen quite a bit, so if video games aren't the cause, then in general, what is? Going back to the studies done by the U.S. Secret Service and the Department of Education, they've found that a lot of the school shooting perpetrators that didn't kill themselves at the end, in their confessions, they noted that a number of them were driven to their actions by bullying. And so it seems to be a fairly common or fairly believable scenario, as in they're bullied a lot in their life. And they're always told to go to their teachers or the principal. And most of these teachers and principals either just don't have the power to or authority to do anything about it, or worse yet, they just might not care at all and just say, it's just kids being kids. So these people just feel trapped and feel like they have no other way out than to take matters into their own hands and just bring a gun or a knife to school and actually try to harm someone. And also, these zero-tolerance policies they have on weapons and drugs in schools aren't helping too much at all, because if you do a simple Google search on them, you will find few, if any, incidences of these zero-tolerance policies preventing or doing anything to prevent school shootings or anything like that. In fact, you'll find a lot of often humorous, or sadly humorous, stories of people getting caught and suspended from school just for making finger guns or something like that. Something that's otherwise perfectly harmless. And there's also even worse, more horrifying instances where zero-tolerance policies were in effect, but they did nothing to avert an actual tragedy. A perfect example of this is from the late 90s, the infamous Columbine massacre. Colorado, the state that Columbine High School is located in, is in fact one of the biggest proponents of these zero-tolerance policies, and they were in place at the time of the massacre. So where was zero tolerance then? So getting in conclusion, when you think about it, maybe violent video games aren't as bad as we're led to believe. In fact, maybe through this possible outlet of people's violence through cyberspace, maybe a violent video game or two every so often would be a good thing, just to let out the aggression that's built up over the day through a normal day.